In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. This is the theme of Warhammer 40K. A dark future of war and sadness. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. This is the world of Warhammer Space Marine. Games Workshop was founded in 1975 by John Peake, Ian Livingston, and Steven Jackson. Games Workshop was originally a manufacturer of wooden board games before becoming an importer of the US role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons. Having successfully obtained official distribution rights to Dungeons & Dragons before realizing that distributing D&D doesn't make as much as you would think. So Games Workshop wanted to actually make money off of one of their own creative properties. So they tasked Rick Presley, Brian Answell, and Richard Hallowell with designing the fantasy miniature wargame Warhammer Fantasy Battle for Games Workshop. The first edition of the rulebook was published September 1987, with Rick Presley designing the 10mm scale mass combat fantasy wargame Warhammer and Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, people often ask me about Warhammer Fantasy and how it all started, and I mean the story's been told quite a few times, but really the idea was that we just wanted to sell more toy soldiers. We were, and I say we, I mean Citadel Miniatures in Newark, we were selling mixtures of fantasy figures to people who were playing role-playing games. So our ranges were adventurers and monsters and such like. But we noticed that people were starting to buy entire regiments of models, especially orcs and goblins, things like that. And I think it was probably Brian who thought, well, people are obviously buying these things with an intention of playing a more conventional war game. And we initially thought, well, why don't we just make up a game and include it as part of our mail order flyers, because at the time every month we sent out mail order flyers to all of our established customers, and these were A3 sheets, I think. And
all of this made Games Workshop one of the largest wargaming companies in the world, known all over the world for their novels, comics, television shows, and video games. Rick left Games Workshop in 2009, complaining that the corporate culture had grown too focused on sales and no longer cared about innovation in game design. I highly recommend watching the two-part interview if you're interested in the creation of early Warhammer, because I'm leaving a lot out. This is ultimately a video about a game based on, well, a game, not the other way around, if that makes sense. Developer Relic Entertainment got used to creating RTSs, with their only real experience outside of the genre being when they made the game The Outfit. A failure, mostly because you never make a third-person shooter in an RTS game's engine. Relic Entertainment, learning from their mistakes, recruited staff with experience, looking at Gears of War as inspiration. Something that THQ was willing to let them get away with because Relic Entertainment was one of THQ's biggest internal studios. Until, as usual, THQ went bankrupt. THQ sold Relic to Sega, while also abandoning the rights to the Warhammer 40K franchise, which Sega is now making tons of money off of, with games like Total War Warhammer. The Relic staff, on the other hand, took their talents elsewhere. I've seen some of the Space Marine staff working on games like the new God of War trilogy, and even taking from their inspiration, working on the new Gears of War games. What do you get when a generic third-person shooter meets a generic third-person beat-em-up? Broken Controller, how could you use such a derogatory term like generic to describe my favorite game? Simple. It is. But that doesn't always mean it's bad, especially when you get almost everything right. Look, when you take two generic ideas and put them together, you might get maximum overdrive. Horror movie? Car movie? mash them together. Of course it was shit. Isn't that just stupid to bring that up? Is that Christine? Same idea. Same writer even. But why is one significantly better than the other? It's simple. Execution. Whoa. Not that... Well, actually, that is one of the reasons this game is so good. It's the presentation. From the fun animations, great music, and the sound effects, really bringing the world alive. The feeling of absolutely destroying a motherfucker is what makes Space Marine feel special. It never gets old. The visual of a greenskin turning into a blood geyser after getting shot in the face, oh, it's so good. Then the art design of every level. Oh. I usually don't like to talk about sound and artwork because honestly I'm not very knowledgeable about it. Meaning I only know when something's absolutely perfect, great, or embarrassing and terrible. Now when something is meh, or good, I don't know what to tell you. But don't you worry, sound-wise, everything is top-notch. From the bolter making a very distinct sound when it's starting to empty. I'm not a very big gun guy, but it reminds me of M1 Garand. And that's probably intentional. While the combat in Space Marine comes across to me as a generic rehash of countless bargain bin trash, it stands above all of them because the level design. It maximizes the use of these mechanics. Like when you're traveling across a giant battering ram. Oh wait, most of us would call it a train. You'll have to use a chainsaw sword to carve up orcs. Even using executions to restore your health like it's Doom 2016. All while they try to overwhelm you with their sheer numbers. Before mounting a turret to destroy the air support, while also crashing the Greenskins' makeshift battering ram into a city. Or after activating one of the immensely powerful titans, who will then walk through the hangar while you fight alongside it, killing more Greenskins, before jumping on top of it and demolishing their air support. How about another scene? When Chaos Space Marines show up, you have a three-way war with them and the orcs. The level design is all about utilizing multiple threats against you, and you must deal with them all at one time. You will need to become efficient at killing one of these problems. It's the only way you can progress. You'll have to utilize strategies like killing all the snipers and machine gunners before the horde reaches you with heavily armored berserkers. That way, you can easily dismiss them with your Thunderhammer. How about utilizing the strategy of sniping the armored orcs so you can easily heal up using the blood of the Greenskins before cutting down their ranged units, then using a void gun to absolutely decimate their reinforcements. The actual combat, like a good cake, has lots of layers. Now there's always the third person action shooter antics that every game has, like sniping snipers, or the beat 'em up mechanics of mashing the attack button while in the center of a horde. The reason Space Marine has so many layers to it, even with its basic combat, is because of the level design and the weapons you're given to deal with all the situations that are thrown at you. Most weapons are, like I said, generic, but they have two variations. One that deals with light armored enemies, and one that deals with heavily armored enemies. Let's just look at the two sniper rifles. One has a lot more ammunition, and can headshot weaker enemies very fast and efficiently, or our laser sniper rifle, absolutely wrecking a lot of the bosses. Is it more powerful than the other weapon? Technically, because you will run out of ammo and it has a very long startup time. And this goes for almost every weapon in the game. You usually want to mix these weapons to your playstyle. And you know what? Space Marine allows you to. You are the 7.5-foot tall, 400-pound ultramarine captain, Titus, given the privilege of stopping the invasion of the Forge World Graia from an all-out war led by the war boss Grimskull during an orc war, while securing the all-powerful Titans, arriving after the orcs have killed most of the planet's forces, taking over their planetary weaponry, and using it against the Space Marines. Our first mission is to take those gun batteries, entering the atmosphere using halo jumps combined with jetpacks. First by landing on one of the orc ships and destroying it with only a pistol and a knife, crashing their flagship into the ground and actually land on the planet, landing in the Industrial Zone 82. This world has been completely overrun and destroyed by the orcs, and the only people left are 2nd Lieutenant Mira and her men. Mira and the Ultramarine team up to destroy the gun fortress because there's no support coming unless they are destroyed. So why not use their own ammunition to do the job itself? Now with Lieutenant Mira and her men being able to get reinforcements and supplies, she's willing to use her air force to support us as we fight our way to the factory holding the Titan Invictus. But the factory carries a lot more because even Inquisitors are here protecting some of the most powerful experimental weapons. Something so big that Imperial Inquisitor Dragon thinks it can change the course of the fight. This weapon is called the Psychic Scourge, a weapon that can wipe out all of the orcs. Retrieving this power source and then bringing it to the Psychic Scourge is a very large portion of the game. So let's just skip ahead to when we activate the Scourge.
Hello. Look at the spire. Why didn't it work?
Damn that Drogon! Never trust the Inquisition!
Stand fast, Ultramarines. We can handle a few orcs.
Space Marine! Was that supposed to hurt?
Chaos demons! How is this possible?
Well, the ultimate orc-killing weapon doesn't seem to kill orcs. Instead, it opens a gate to the realm of chaos, and opening it unleashes the Chaos Lord Nimroth, subduing the Space Marines as Inquisitor Dragon arrives. Dragon was killed at some point and turned into a sleeper agent for the forces of chaos. And if it wasn't for Captain Titus's natural resistance against chaos, and the orc war boss Grimskull, our squad of Space Marines would already be dead. Titus steals the power source and retreats before he and the other Space Marines can be killed. Now they're faced with the growing portal that's constantly pouring out chaos forces into the world. And now Captain Titus has to devise a plan to save Graia and stop the portal. This plan involves using the Titan Invictus, using that power source to empower it, to destroy the orbital spire and stop the portal from growing. On the way, Titus faces Grimskull again, still trying to steal the power source and the Titan from the captain. Finally having an all-out final battle, killing Grimskull in the process by using a plasma shot to his head. Using the power source to power up the Titan even further, they are finally able to stop the orbital spire. Realizing the power source is too dangerous to be entrusted to anyone, even the Inquisition, Titus decides to bring it back to the chapter master of the Ultramarines and the chief librarian, so they can seal it in the chapter's armory, entrusting the power source to Sidious, who was easily killed by Namaroth. Shit starts getting so bad that a company of Blood Raven Space Marines show up to help stop the forces of Chaos. Titus leads this force through the remaining Chaos forces to stop Namaroth from performing a ritual to ascend to the status of Demon Prince. With the Demon Prince and Captain Titus finally meeting at the top of the spire and having an all-out war to decide the fate of the Forge world.
Joining us.
With Captain Titus coming out on top, destroying the experimental device before anyone else can misuse it. After everything is said and done, an Imperial Inquisitor by the name of Thrax grabs our hero in the belief that he's a heretic, because how else could he survive the realm of Chaos's influence without being a member of Chaos himself? To protect those he cares about, the other members of the Space Marines and Lieutenant Mira, he goes with the Inquisition to be investigated to find out what's actually going on. The ending of Space Marine is clearly a setup for a sequel. Actually, it was supposed to be a trilogy, but when Relic Entertainment was sold and THQ abandoned the rights to Warhammer 40K, surprisingly, that sequel was officially cancelled, January 22nd, 2013. There was a bunch of plans for what the series was going to be, but clearly they didn't pan out. Wait, what's this? Is that a sequel coming? And it's coming pretty soon. Well, from what I've seen, it's not going to follow the plans from the original creators, but it will follow the exploits of Captain Titus after the first game. Space Marine 2 will be created by Saber Interactive, and it will be published by Focus Interactive. Let's hope that it's going to be as good as the original. If you like this video and the content I create, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. When I reach 10,000 subscribers, I will go back and play Azure Dreams, the PS1 classic. Thank you.